Can you walk us through a little bit of the recruiting process and the backstory of you guys finding Colston, going through the process of him like high school to college and why he was a fit for Michigan?
Uh, I was coaching tight ends, transitioned to offensive line coach. We had identified him. Jay Harbaugh did an outstanding job of, building that relationship, getting that relationship to where it needed to be to ultimately get him here to Michigan. And then ultimately, Grant Newsome ended up coaching him as well as Steve Kasula. But, we just found a blue collar guy, super athletic. He played everything on the field for his high school in Idaho, and not many people go to Idaho to go recruit in general, but we try to dig and find. We call it mining for gold, right? Try to find the best players you can anywhere you can, and he was just a great fit. Blue collar kid, did rodeos as a kid, great student, leader, captain, and a super athlete, and just thought he'd be a great fit for our program.
Was he as polished of a route runner like when you first got eyes on him, or was that something that took him a little bit more time to develop at Michigan?
Yeah, it definitely took some time for him to develop. It didn't take long, but the thing about Colston, he's just a tireless worker. He's going to work and work and work and do everything he can to be the best. And he's got ice in his veins. People always ask about like, how was he impacted us early? His first touchdown catch was in the horseshoe at Ohio State. So as a freshman and a true freshman, so that was his first touchdown catch, and the next catch was the next week in the Big Ten championship. So he was never a guy that wasn't going to be outworked, and it took him some time to get exactly how he was as a route runner and became what he is now.
We'll go next to Adam Johns of The Athletic. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Coach. Last night Ryan Poles mentioned seeing Colston like all over the film of JJ McCarthy when they were looking at quarterbacks a couple of years ago. I was hoping if you could expand maybe on the connection he formed with JJ, especially that year during the national title run.
Yeah, I just remember, even as the play caller, trying to find ways to get him the ball because we knew how talented he was and how much of a playmaker and a mismatch. JJ felt that comfort, and I think quarterbacks always feel that comfort with really good tight ends that can bail them out, especially in third down situations and big play situations. And he was the guy we just put all over the field. We try to find matchups every week to get him matched up against somebody or the other guys, and JJ just had a really good connection, and that was built through the summer. A lot of hard work that they had and times that people didn't see of them working out in the summer, and really led them to where the 23 season took them.
JJ seemed to really trust like throwing over the middle to him and like tight window throws. How did that? Maybe if you can expand on that development and just when did you see that connection really take off?
Biggest thing I think I saw that in fall camp. You saw a little bit in his spring, really his freshman year spring. Crazy to say that, and going into his sophomore year, into the 23 year, but you saw it in fall camp. You saw something different that, when it was all, if he needed a bailout, he was going to go to Colston and put in position for him to be successful. We had a lot of other guys on the team that were successful. Colston was definitely a mainstay and helped us and was a key cognizant for us to win that national championship for sure.
We'll go next to Dan Weedier of the Chicago Tribune. Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, Coach, there was a lot of chatter during the pre-draft process about how competitive Colston can be. What can you say about his wiring and that edge that he seems to operate with?
Yeah, he just doesn't like to lose, refuses to lose in anything, whether it's a talk about Jordan or LeBron, or whether it's a talk about anything football. Like, he's a grinder, he's a worker, and it comes from his background, his foundation of his family, and who they are as people. He's just a guy that he's going to be relentless in his work ethic, and he's going to be tough. He's going to be physical. He's going to be everything that the Bears organization really wants.
Ryan Poles commended him last night for kind of the way he approached last season, dealing with different quarterback dynamics, trying to kind of power through some things there. What did you see up close about his ability to kind of navigate all that gracefully?
Yeah, very selfless kid, man. He just wanted to do anything he could to help the team win, and he did that. He did it in every way possible whenever he could. He excelled, and I think we as coaches, you watch him and you go back and watch the cut-ups of how good he was. You realize it, but you even grow more appreciation for how special of a player he really is. And but the kid just did everything he could for the team and never looked back on it.
We'll go next to Pat Finley, Chicago Sun-Times. Go ahead, Pat.
Hey, Coach, he doesn't think LeBron is better than Jordan, does he?
I'll let you guys handle that.
Kind of to Dan's question, 2 years ago, you guys are at the very top of the mountain. Last year, it didn't go quite as well as you wanted. How was he? Was he the same the whole time? How did you see him kind of ride the wave of emotion there?
Yeah, I just saw him become more of a positive leader. I think his sophomore year when we won it all, we had so many natural leaders, and he could have been a leader, but he just didn't need to be. He's a guy that
Yeah.
just did his job and worked extremely hard, and he had been in the fire, and he took more of a leadership role. If we were allowed to, we have a policy here of only having seniors as captains. If we were allowed to vote juniors, he would have been a captain. That tells you how much this team valued him as a person and as a player.
We'll go next to Sean Hammond, Chicago Tribune. Go ahead, Sean.
Piggybacking off kind of what you were talking about with his connection with JJ, I'm curious what stood out to you about his abilities, in the scramble drill when the play breaks down.
Just the ability to find space. He's just an athlete that understands exactly where the quarterback's moving to, and then when the quarterback moves, how to stay on schedule with him when it's an off-schedule play. And I think that's key in all scramble drills. So he just did a really good job of finding the space and making sure that JJ could find him or whatever quarterback could find him, and did a really good job in those areas, and will continue to excel at them.
If I could follow up too on you mentioned the first touchdown against Ohio State. What stood out about that play? What do you remember?
The thing I stood out the most, not only was he left the defender in the dust, but shushing the crowd right after. I thought that was an epic moment for a freshman to catch that and not even blink, shush the crowd and celebrate with his teammates. I thought that was outstanding.
Looks like we got two more for you, Coach. We'll go first to Josh Buckholder. Go ahead, Josh.
Hi, Coach. Nice to speak with you. I'm curious as to what you would say to maybe thoughts that Colston's not a great blocker. And if you have any specific examples that you could point to.
You look at what we did in 23, we're in 13 personnel a lot of games, and he's playing in the backfield. He's playing at the point of attack. I think he's an extremely willing blocker. He's not the 270-pound big Ys that are in the NFL or offensive linemen, but he's going to put his face in there. He's going to do the dirty work. He's going to be as physical as he can. But where he excels is in the pass game, and he has the ability to block, and he'll be able to do that in the NFL, and challenge people that way. But then he'll excel in the passing game.
Last one for you. We'll go back to Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
Coach, I'm curious if you spent much, if any, time in Gooding, Idaho, and if so, what you could tell us about.
I haven't spent a lot of time in Gooding. There's not much going on in Gooding. Been to Idaho a couple times. Boise's a really nice town. Been there a couple times, but have not spent a lot of time in Gooding. There's not much going on, but I know there's one of the best players that come to Michigan from there, so probably have to spend more time there.
I'll take you a slightly different direction. There's been talk about the way Colston snaps at the top of his routes. How do you describe what makes him special as a separator?
Yeah, he's so explosive. He's fast, he's physical, but he's explosive, and he just works at the top of his routes a lot. And I think Coach Steve Kasula really took his route running to the next level. Our tight end coach now, he really took that to a new level, and he was always good at creating separation, but he always found ways to get open, when others couldn't. So I think it's a credit to Coach Kasula, but also really a credit to Colston and his work ethic and what he's done.